Welcome back. I'm so glad that you have joined me today. We're going to talk about a concept that I really believe can help both the unfaithful and the betrayed equally. For some, if you're an unfaithful, this may help you understand what it's going to take moving forward if you're going to heal, if you're going to reconnect with your partner, and if you're going to possibly even save your relationship. Not that you can save it yourself. It will take the participation of your betrayed partner as well. If you're a betrayed, I absolutely believe that this concept will help you, will care for you, and give you some guidance on how to move forward from right where you're at right now. I'm not that old. I've been doing this for a long damn time. I will tell you that. In studying, in talking to people, in helping those in crisis, in talking to the unfaithful as well as the betrayed for years, for more hours than I can count, I've realized that there's one crucial truth that we all have to buy into. My experience is not always your experience, and your experience is not always my experience. When we try and say one size fits all, when you're dealing with infidelity, that is a colossal mistake. So what I'm going to share today may hit you right between the eyes. It may hit you dead in your tracks, or it may not hit you right where you're at, and it may become applicable further down the road. But I can assure you, we're probably all guilty of this in one time or another. Here's the truth of today. Whether we're unfaithful or whether we're betrayed, at one time or another, or even right now, we absolutely abandon ourselves, and we are enormously guilty of self-neglect. Now, if you're a betrayed, you may have heard that and went, Samuel, my spouse or partner had an affair. How are they neglecting themselves? How are they abandoning themselves? All they're doing is making life all about themselves. And I can understand that. The problem is, if they had been doing their self-care, if they had been caring for themselves in a genuine, authentic, and safe way, I can tell you they probably would have never had an affair in the first place. Self-care is essential if we are going to be healthy human beings. It takes self-love to mitigate self-neglect and abandoning ourselves. In my own work, from the last 15 years to the last couple of years, in my own work, I have come to the realization of how often I abandon myself. We'll talk in a few minutes as to why we do that. But I want to ask you, have you abandoned yourself? Are you abandoning yourself right now, trying to please your partner, trying to make the marriage work, trying to make the family work and keep it together? Are you too guilty of abandoning yourself? Or maybe you've been abandoning yourself, and so now you've come to a situation where you say, man, what do I do? How do I reconnect? Not even with my partner. How do I reconnect with myself? Because I feel like I'm living a lie. I feel like I'm in this tornado of self-hatred and self-shame and chaos, and I don't know how to get out of it. And I don't know how to even care for myself. Yes, Sam, I've neglected myself. I've abandoned myself. I'm so far away from myself, I don't know what to do. And today I want to help you reconnect with yourself. Today I want to help you understand why we are not okay with ourselves. Very quickly, and hopefully very succinctly, I want to tell you a few reasons why we're not okay with ourselves. Number one, we are terrified of being abandoned. We absolutely are scared of being left for dead or abandoned by our partner, whether they're unfaithful or they're betrayed. Another reason we're not okay is we may have had this approach modeled for us by our parents or grandparents or guardians. They may have modeled an approach that says you take care of everybody else and you don't take care of yourself. And if you express your needs, you're considered weak or infantile or selfish. And so shut up, worry about yourself later, and just focus on caring for everybody else, because as long as everybody else is happy, That's what life is all about. And the problem with that is there's some truth in putting other people first. There's some truth to self-sacrifice. But when it becomes out of balance and when we're not caring for ourselves, we make terrible mistakes morally, emotionally. We do things as of a result of immense pain and neglect, and slowly but surely we abandon more and more of ourselves, where we wake up one day and we either act out or we act in. And I'll talk more about that in just a couple minutes. Next is we may be overcome with an overwhelming amount of shame. And when you are struggling with shame, you are not okay with yourself. You want to try and outrun yourself. You become so overcome with the shame of your choices, or what's happened to you, or what you've brought onto yourself, or what your partner did to you. There's so much that we have to wrestle through that we just feel like there's this blanket over us of isolation and shame. And so we are completely shut down and we don't know how to fix it. We don't know how to find freedom. And we are embarrassed. We're humiliated, either for what has happened to us as a betrayed, or for what we've brought on ourselves as an unfaithful. Now, earlier I alluded to maybe a toxic family structure, but there's also some very toxic spiritual overtones that can happen. I come from faith. I know exactly what they sound like and feel like. And we can have the Jesus model used against us to where we constantly are sacrificing ourselves, constantly taking an approach that says, no, it's about everybody else, not me. I'm the problem. Die to myself, and all these different things. There is some truth to dying to ourselves. However, when it becomes out of balance, it becomes incredibly toxic, and we've had so many people use that against us to where self-care has been made to seem selfish. And if we're caring for ourselves, we're looked upon as new agey or selfish or self-absorbed. Jesus took care of himself. He cared for himself. He retreated so often for prayer, for meditation, to care for himself so that he could fulfill his calling. We have to be able to care for ourselves. If we can't care for ourselves, who will? It's nobody else's job to care for ourselves. It's our job to care for us. Maybe it's time to do a better job of caring for yourself. Next, and this is specific to the betrayed can feel like, you know what? I can't talk about what I need. I'm so worried about how my unfaithful partner is going to react. I can't ask questions. I can't get upset. I can't show emotion, because if I do, they freak out, they panic, they get angry, they lash out. Shame overcomes them, and now I've created more pain for them. So I can't talk about it. I can't talk about my reminders and triggers. I can't bring it up, because every time I do, they spiral. And so more and more of the betrayed loses themselves, abandons themselves, loses their voice, loses their opportunity to speak, and slowly but surely they spiral. And it's similar for the unfaithful. It just looks a little bit different in that they feel like, I'll never have a voice. I'll never be able to talk about my needs. I'll never be able to express what I need. I'll never be able to express my pain and my hurt. And so, you know what? I'll never be able to have a voice in this marriage. I'll never be able to speak up for myself. And so they spiral. It just looks a little bit different because they don't feel like they can be their true self because of the mistakes that they've made. It's at this point that I have to throw out to you, it is so incredibly important that you understand that is not similar for everyone. Some unfaithfuls don't want to do any repair work. Some unfaithfuls refuse to take responsibility, refuse to admit that they've even had an affair. Some unfaithfuls exercise this narcissistic approach, or maybe they are a true narcissist. Your situation is not exactly like others' situations. We make a gross mistake when we say, well, that's not true for me, so that means it's not true at all. No. It's probably true for other people, but it may not relate to you, and that's okay. Typically, the end result is the unfaithful or the betrayed will either act out or they will act in. Acting out is kind of easier to understand. We have affairs, we have addictions, pornography, affairs and affair partners, and multiple affair partners. Acting in is different. Acting in is more about hopelessness and despair. And that gives way to a joylessness in life and a drudgery and even suicidal ideation and really considering ending your life because of the pain, and you're acting inward, and depression. And there becomes this absolute disorientation with life where you just lose hope and a desire to keep going. What can also happen is a couple comes to this point and one or both spouses hit this decision of emotionally divorcing. They're in the marriage, they're in the home, they're raising kids or grandkids, they're trying to keep the unit together, but they have emotionally divorced their partner. And the end result is either an affair of their own, or more affairs, or addictions, or just this separate life that only breeds more division and divisiveness and struggle, an absolute breakdown of what the relationship could look like. So you may be saying, well, Sam, what do we do then? So I want to give you a few ways that you can reconnect with yourself and no longer abandon yourself, but actually start to heal what's going on inside. The first way that we can reconnect with ourselves, and this is going to sound very children's bookish, is to make friends with your past. To realize you can't outrun it. You can't keep denying it. As long as you refuse to admit that you made the choices that you made, or that what had happened to you actually happened to you, you're going to remain stuck, if not paralyzed. And you have to understand, we all have to admit some dark things about our past. The struggle is if we won't admit them. If we can admit them, and if we can embrace them, and if we can choose to get someone who's an expert to help us with them, we can make friends with them, and that can actually help us be so much of a better man or a better woman to both ourselves and to everyone around us. Next is we can heal us. That's just the bottom line. You have to be willing to go through the healing that you need. As long as you stay angry, as long as you try and stay disconnected from it, as long as you just refuse to talk about it, you can't heal. And if you can't heal, you are abandoning more and more of yourself. Next is you can confront yourself. I've had to confront myself more times than I'd like to count. The fact is, it's how I've found freedom in some ways. It's not the only way I've found freedom, but it is in some ways the way that I have unlocked a part of me when I had to confront myself and say, you know what, I am this way, or I can be this way, and I need to admit it, and I need to get honest, and I need to get help, and I need to get free, because I don't want to be like this anymore. Next is we can soothe us. Here's the thing. If you're going to heal, if you're going to confront, if you're going to acknowledge some things, you're going to be in distress. And the way we soothe ourselves is so essential and so important. We can go through a million different ways that we soothe ourselves in a negative. The positives are proper self-care, eating right, finding some outside time, finding a way to get yourself going in a way that invigorates you and helps you feel like you can take a deep breath and that you're not suffocated and that you're not just balled up in this fit of just tension and rage and pain. Finding a way to decompress in a positive way is essential. My final way today is probably one of the toughest, and that is to research more about us. I hate when my therapist asks me pressing questions. I know when he's digging, and I'm like, what are you trying to get at? Let's talk about that. What are you trying to get to? And he says, I'm asking you some questions. Now, we're a little different than maybe you and the way your therapists talk. He will say, I'm trying to ask you questions to find out some things so I can help you heal, big shooter. And I go, I know, okay. I just get irritated. And so you have to be curious. You have to be open to talking about it. And you have to be willing to go through the pain to answer questions to give this expert third party the opportunity to find out why you do what you do and to help you walk out of that bondage, help you walk out of that depth of pain and hurt that has caused you to abandon yourself in the first place. The right people will help you find freedom. Let me just say, I hope that you will take this to heart. This is one of those videos you can go, yeah, not yet, or nah, it's not me. That's probably you. If you're having that reaction, it's probably time for you to step away from avoiding what needs to be talked about. I hope and I pray that you'll have this conversation with yourself, maybe your significant other, and maybe an expert third party that can help you begin to reconnect with yourself so that you can heal yourself, so that you can be proud of yourself and the work that you've done to find the freedom that you probably so desperately want. I wish you all the best today. I hope that you can take this action to find freedom and to find joy once again.